let's look at the dreaded closures within functions. Closures inside functions. What is the point? That was the first question I had. And after a little bit of studying, mainly using this book by Dave McLeod, which I keep mentioning, I'm not on any kickback or anything, honestly. Um, what I've realized is that the big benefit really is that you can use the closure. Sorry, you can use the function multiple times with basically with a different closure inside it. So what I've got here, let's just what I'm going to do is just scroll down a bit so that we don't have to look at the scary um, scary function definition. So sometimes I'm starting to look at code and I'm thinking, how do I use it in main? How will I implement it in main first so that I understand what it's actually doing? And then I go back and worry about actually writing the function and thinking about what parameters it needs, whether something's an option. Okay, so what is this code doing? Why do we need to use a closure in a function? So here I've got dbao and dbaf. So basically that's double and add zero, double and add zero, double and add one, sorry, double and add five. So we've got two different closures, but as long as they use the same types, you can pass any closure that uses the required types, you can pass it to the function, which we'll look at in a second. So we've got double and add stuff. We're passing in s, which is 7. We're going to use the double and add 1 function here. So the first time we do all this, we're going to be using double and add 1. So we're going to double 7, then add 1, so that's going to give us 15, which is what I'm doing the assert for there. So the other thing, I've started to try and force myself to use assert equals and debug, the dbg macro more. Partly because you'll find yourself ending up adding derived debug to things when you don't really need to, because the only reason you're doing it is because you're printing just while you're developing stuff. So that's how I see it, or that's how I understand it. I don't know if anyone's got any different views or opinions. Right, let's turn off the types. Oh, sorry, /ti toggle. Okay. Right, looks a bit clearer, doesn't it? So double and add stuff, double and add stuff. So it's the same function, but the function is taking a different closure each time. So that's the closure that doubles and adds 5, and that's the closure that doubles and adds 1. Right, now we've established all that. That's how we actually use it. So we could keep going here, and we could add another one that's double and add, let's say 9. So and what would that be? That we'll use n for 9. We'll call that double and add 9. So again, we could paste space. So n we'll say n is 9, and then double and add 9, and then 9 there. That needs to back that. Yeah, that works because even though I've still got e there, e's like a placeholder, but probably just for clarity, it'd be nicer if we said 9. You can actually put in whatever you like here. So I could put in foo. So as long as what you've got at the start of the closure matches what you're actually using inside, it doesn't matter. So that works fine. I say it works fine. Let's just do the check on it. So then we'll say NN and 18, so that's 27. There we go, good. No errors. Right, that's what it does. Let's look at how it does it. So, oh yeah, just one little side note here. I found myself, especially when practicing other people's examples and typing, you know, typing small little chunks of code in just to test. I mean, I could use Rust Playground. The thing I found about Rust Playground is that I've got so used to using a lot of Vim key bindings, shortcuts, especially like this print macro. So I use Shift and Tab, and it just does me a. So when I go into Rust Playground just to do a quick example, I find it really annoying that I've got to type println exclamation mark, open brackets, curly braces, quotes, and so on. So anyway, yeah, what I was going to talk about was so the first thing I do now when I open up a project is I've set up a Vim key binding for, I think I use Control W, yeah, and it's just allow unused. Probably not good practice in production, but it's just for messing about. It's great because obviously, I didn't save it, did I? Save, now run it. There you go. That's the benefit. You still compiles, but it just gets rid of all the orange stuff. Right, so double and add stuff. So here I've said stuff. So because I'm just kind of saying stuff, it leaves the option of being able to add 1, add 5, add 9. And you can throw in as many closures into this function as you could ever wish, as long as you're passing in an I32. So again, you could, if you wanted to pass in 2 parameters, you'd just come in here and add y. Again, I'd do another I32 because we're doing stuff and we're getting a I32 as a result. So I've probably spent about 2 days on this now. I learned it maybe 3-5 months ago, and I understood it at the time, but I think about a week later I'd pretty much forgotten it all because I'm not saying it's complicated, but well, just look at it. It's a bit more than just a for loop, isn't it? Or just remembering uh, you know. Right, so where I covered where in a recent video, so where is just a kind of a way to tidy or to compartmentalize, I would say. So function name, that's straightforward. Then we're putting in capital F. That's just a convention. You don't. It doesn't have to be F, but by all accounts, F just to anyone else who reads your code, then you want to be using F because F represents your passing in. It symbolizes a closure. So all of the closure stuff. Let me highlight the closure stuff. So X. Just remove that again because that was just me messing about. So this line is much like a normal function. How you just declare a normal function, and func colon f. So the f there obviously matches what you've put there. So if I put g there, still work. It's not good. I don't think it's good practice, but yes, it still compiles. But just for the benefit of the programmers, we'll stick with f. I think the other convention is actually to use a lowercase f there, so you can make that a little bit more concise. I think for me, just while I'm learning it, I'd quite like func just because it sort of stands out a bit more. So what does your function, not the closure, what does the function return? So the function returns an I32. If you're not familiar with using the asserts, we can just do print. So um, what was that? Double and add 9. Double and add 9. 27. So it's the same. Did you see what I mean about doing all the print and then having to do the derive debugging, all that stuff? So yeah, I think I'm going to try and really force myself to use assert macro from now on. Right. So this is all to do with the closure. So that, what I've highlighted there, is basically representing what's going on here. So you're passing in an I32 and you want to get an I32 back, which is you're doubling your number and you're adding something. So then your function x, which is x is actually x is nothing to do with that. So x comes from your main function. So x actually comes from is that. So when you actually call your function, you're actually passing in the closure, which is that, and you're also passing in x, which is what you're putting in there. This isn't, I would say this, and I've also looked at cow. Cow is, I understood it going through it. I typed out the example and understand that it allows you to either return borrowed type or an owned type. But to try and implement it, I think it's probably going to take me another year or two of using Rust every day to begin to want to start. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit pessimistic, but yeah, cow and passing closures into functions are probably the two most tricky things I've kind of, I wouldn't say encountered, but probably the two most tricky things I've forced myself to try and learn. So again, and that includes things like linked lists. I mean, I did the linked list example from this book, and yeah, I can from memory, I can remember the linked list example. I could type that from scratch right now, but cow and passing closures into functions, just the syntax is just a bit more. For instance, when I was first doing this, I was forgetting to put the actual brackets there, and I was just doing something like that, which is obviously not going to compile. So there we go. That's just my thoughts on, again, hopefully you appreciate this is not a fully blown tutorial as such. It's me describing some of the difficulties and the way that I'm trying to understand the method that I am using to learn how to pass closures to functions. So tip 1, start using assert equal. Tip 2, customize Vim. Tip 3, probably just start using FN rather than worrying about the FN once and FN mut, because as you heard, I didn't describe it very well at all. And I think once you've mastered one of them and you've built some more examples, I think the first thing is to do what I've done here, which is go beyond the basic example, which doesn't actually take any parameters, because you'll see many examples where it's just that. And you're not passing any parameters. You'll see examples like that. And I think, yeah, you always want to be passing in your own parameters to your closures. So that's it for now. I think hopefully I've described how I'm starting to go about learning this. ChatGPT does give you some useful examples. I think also the next step from this, so okay, if this is kind of you already got this, I think the next step is probably to try, if you know the Mithridates, the Ruston month of lunches, I know I keep mentioning it, but it's kind of just a good resource. The next example would then be to start using self, and then start using structs and implementations within these functions. There's a great example in this book, which is what helps me learn about passing in multiple different or closures that do different things. As long as they use the same types, you can pass in all these different closures, and you can pass them into the same function. So with one function name, you're actually getting kind of different capabilities, should we say. I'm always hesitant to say methods when I'm talking about programming, because if I say, oh, what is a different method, then yeah, method is sometimes in spoken English you will say method because that's what you want to say. But I try not to ever say the word method unless I actually mean method. That's just me anyway. So yeah, onwards and upwards. But again, I'm not particularly enjoying learning this, but now I've grasped that you can pass in different closures to one function. I'm starting to see the power of it, and that's going to give me more motivation to keep learning it. And I think it's especially with lots and lots of dry examples when you're not actually working on a project. I think sometimes it's difficult to keep up your motivation. Um, it's partly why I make these videos, because I think, well, if I can make a video, then it's a bit creative, and it just kind of um, it documents what I'm learning. Hopefully, it makes me try and concentrate and understand and break down every line. It makes me use ChatGPT for a second opinion. I must emphasize second opinion because I'm a firm believer in, if somebody's taken a year or two of their life to write a book, that's probably going to be better than something that ChatGPT's possibly hallucinating on. And also, I think ChatGPT is probably just trained on lots of examples, and it's probably trained on like the Rust documentation and everything anyway. So um, it's I think ChatGPT, you will sometimes find examples that you think, I've seen that before, and I think it's just trying to go for the most generic examples, and I'm sure it's been trained on sorry, I'm sure ChatGPT has been trained on Stack Overflow. I don't know. Can anyone confirm that? Um, but yeah, if book first, um, ChatGPT second, Google Gemini third, Stack Overflow fourth, um, and obviously Rust documentation. If Rust documentation possibly first, I should have said really. Rust documentation first. Run the example. You'll notice that's the other thing. If you run the examples in Rust documentation, often you will just see emptiness. That's because everything worked, and they're not doing loads of print statements. So yeah. If you take nothing else from this video, start using the assert equals macro. If you use Vim, which I would encourage you to do so, uh, start tweaking, start customizing your setup. My other bit of, I wouldn't say wisdom, but just my opinion is that you've got all these things that can set up Vim for you, like is it Lazy Vim, Astro Vim, and all these. I've used those, and yeah, they give you lots of things straight out of the box, but there's so much that you would then need to memorize, and you've got to memorize their way. Whereas if you just take the minimalist init.vim, let's talk about Vim. So NV, where is it? So home.config, vim init.vim. So I'll just show you what I'm using. So Capuchin is my theme. It actually looks different when I use it in Tmux, but that's not important. I started looking at styled components, not sure what they are. That's what that's what I'm trying to get to. If you set up your own Vim, you will then kind of pretty much know everything you've got in your config. I don't like it when I've got a config file with other people's stuff in and I don't know what it does, and it's just bloat, isn't it? Nerd tree setter, Rust tools, Simrat, it's 39. So um, I'm using COC, which I think I don't know if that's kind of a bit old school, but um, yeah, airline that gives you the bit that changes color there. Look, that's dev icons. That just gives you the Rust logo and Python logos when you depending on what you're working on. Telescope, that's kind of like your Finder thing. Do a plenary. I don't actually know what that's doing, which is bad of me. Rainbow parentheses, because by default you'll just get the same coloured brackets and parentheses everywhere. Rainbow. What was I going to? Far. So far, I've been looking at find and replace, and jury's still out on that. I'm not. I'm thinking I'll just keep using colon percentage forward slash s forward slash forward blah 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 forward slash g for greedy, or if I want to do it that way. I'll show you far. You might like it. Uh, so say I wanted to do a find and replace on so I want to do find and replace on my function name. So I'm actually thinking I'll just keep doing it. I'll go back. I'll stick with the old school S. Has it got autocomplete? No, it hasn't. The other way of doing it is question mark double, and then that's the where it falls over, isn't it? I digress. Let's go back to far. Not not an editor command. Oh, it's capital, isn't it? Argument required. So far double. I'm hoping it would autocomplete, but it's not. Arguments required. A format of file pattern replace file mask. Okay. So yeah, I'm I'm thinking I'll probably not. This is one of the things which I miss from. It's about the only thing I miss from VS Code. Double add stuff. Let's really shorten it. So that's the old name, the new name. Oh, it tells me there's no matches. Okay. Double underscore add. Oh, I think I need to go to the top. Right. So I'm going to replace double add stuff with DAS. Here we go. So then it lets you just confirm each one. And this goes all over the place. So what is going on? Matches. I think I need to confirm. No, right. Let's quit all that. Does anybody use far? Yeah, that's maybe I've not invested enough time to try and learn how to use it, but yeah. Right, that's it for today. That's it. Sorry about the random bit about far. Uh, if anybody uses it and knows how to set it up nicely so it doesn't keep opening, I think it's the confirmation screen I don't like, and also why can't it just do? Um, oh, it's far do, isn't it? Far. You do far and then the is it far do? Yeah, there's something called far do as well. Anyway, that's it for now. That was the look at closures. That was a talk about doing find and replace, which didn't go too well, did it? And just talking about how to learn stuff. So yeah, book, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Rust Docs, Stack Overflow, and yeah, David McLeod, the author of this, is the one who wrote kind of, is it DH Docs or something? Yeah, you'll find that. So yeah, plow through examples and then just, I don't know, go and play with your cat or something, because it does get a little bit hard going after a while, and I think you'd go mad if you just try and do examples all day. So that's why I tried to mix it up. And if you've seen my recent video, I'll put the link up here for. Um, I've started doing little projects with Iced and the Word document creator generator. I've got a couple of ideas for future projects as well, but yeah, when I start doing a project and then I realize I've got kind of a gap in my knowledge, so when I now go back to learning the concepts and learning to do things properly, if that makes sense. But I think a mixture of projects and theory. In fact, I've read that people recommend doing 80% projects, 20% theory, and yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. So yeah, keep checking the channel, keep checking the community tab, because I'll keep posting examples, because they're examples that I've been coming across that I've been studying, and then I've asked ChatGPT for I ask it to kind of simplify a version just so that it really just only picks out the one, not even the topic, but just the one core concept that I'm trying to learn, and then I'll type out the code, I'll run it, and then I'll modify it slightly, and then just alter one thing, and then, for instance, iter mote. Um, if you change into iter to iter, do you know what the difference is? And previously, and also with a basic for loop, up until about Saturday, I didn't actually. I probably subconsciously knew it, but I didn't really get it clear in my mind that if you do like for I in naught dot 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 10, um, I didn't know that by default that captures by value, which is equivalent to into iter. I think that's right. So yeah, I'm starting to feel more comfortable, and also the thing that is really sinking in now is that quite often you'll have three of everything. So like here where we've got FN, you'll have FN, which means um, use as many times as you want. So that's like just borrowing, read only, immutable. FM once is like by value. Um, and then, so again, you can only use it once because you're capturing the value. And then mut because you want to change, you want to take. I think that's you take a mutable reference. I think that's right. Let's get the help on that. Yeah, take mutable references. So again, probably if you take nothing from this video, just remember there's three ways of doing anything. So with like C or even Python, where you've got copy and you've got deep copy, quite often there's two ways. With Rust, there's three ways. So you can capture something by value, in which case you can use it once. You can get a mutable reference, which you can effectively use, which you would only want to be using. No, you can use more than once. Or you've got an immutable reference. So immutable reference, mutable reference, and then by value. So three is the magic number with Rust, I'm starting to notice. So yeah, on that note, thanks for watching. I've rambled on a bit, but there's some more shorter videos coming up, some sort of like 5 and 10 minute ones where it's just, like I say, just really capturing a topic and just yeah, sort of thing you can watch in your lunch break or while you're having a cup of tea, and then you can crack on with your work. Or, dare I say it, there's quite an amusing video on YouTube of I forget what it is, but there's somebody with like a fake blue hair wig, and he's talking about Rust, and then towards the end of the video, he said he's got to get back to his work and has just finished compiling. So yeah, I think it is kind of a bit of a it's an in joke that Rust takes a long time to compile. And on my old Dell laptop, that's certainly true. But yeah, compiling is least of my worries at the moment, but it might become a bit of a problem in due course. But yeah, I guess the better you become, the more you can earn. The more you can earn, the better laptop you can afford. That's if you're self-employed. If you're working for a company, then you just tell them you need lots of RAM. And I'd be interested on the specs that anyone uses for compiling. What's most important? Is it a fast processor or is it RAM? Yeah. Right, that's it for now. Catch you next time. Thank you.